After buying milk for her sick mother-in-law from a little girl on the highway, the daughter-in-law entered the hospital room. But as soon as her husband opened the can, the doctor froze. "Hurry up, Liza, get ready." "Mom asked you to come quickly," Alex urged his wife. "We're going to be late again because of you." "I'm trying," she huffed, pulling wrinkled clothes out of the washing machine. "I'll hang them up and then we'll go." "The visiting hours haven't changed." "Why did you have to do the laundry right now?" Alex grumbled. "When else? With all these extra duties at my school library, I can't manage anything," Liza complained. "I'm either organizing contests or drawing posters." "You could just stay home and not work," her husband muttered. "You barely earn anything anyway." Liza hung up the laundry and rushed to get dressed. They still had to drive to the hospital from their suburban village. By the way, the school there wasn't that bad. It was private, and they paid decently. But for her husband's family, it was, indeed, just small change. As she sat in the car, Liza thought about what illness had befallen her mother-in-law. Of course, the young woman didn't understand much about medicine, but Brenda's condition had worsened unexpectedly. She complained about one thing after another, groaning and moaning with every movement. The clinic was just as baffled by her illness. So far, the doctors had simply thrown up their hands and mentioned something about a complicated case. This trip to the hospital was also no easy task. 30-year-old Liza was going through a crisis period in her marriage. In their 5 years together, Alex had never been like this. Usually, they easily found common ground, shared their problems and joys. But in the last year, everything had changed. Even now, it was a problem just to agree to go together. Alex yelled, complained about his work schedule, and was terribly displeased, while Liza kept recalling all the moments when her husband would leave with his phone in hand to talk about something in secret. Liza couldn't even imagine who that mysterious person was that Alex kept calling. But she saw all the signs of infidelity. Alex came home late from work, started hiding his phone from her, avoided close contact and joint activities. Heck, she even feared hugging him again. But there was no hard evidence. Liza convinced herself that she could file for divorce, but she feared making a mistake. What if the strange behavior had nothing to do with cheating? She had a good relationship with her mother-in-law, Brenda, the owner of a large company. Liza definitely wasn't going to leave her in the hospital, and her husband was directly dependent on his mother, working in her company. Despite their wealth, in the city and village where they lived, Alex's family was not exactly warmly regarded. Their fortune, according to various rumors, came from almost nowhere. Some claimed Brenda inherited the money after her businessman husband's death. Others suggested that her wealth had criminal origins. But Liza didn't pay much attention to the gossip. She herself came from a completely different region and didn't really care for local rumors. Liza had come to this city to study after leaving the orphanage. In her hometown, there was a dilapidated, old house that was completely unlivable, but at least it existed, so she couldn't expect to claim any other housing. Living with her loud aunt, who had taken her in, was unbearable. She drank and even hid her own children. 12 years ago, Liza left for studies and never returned. She didn't keep in touch with her biological family, and she met Alex at a dance when she was 25. By that time, Liza had already been working as an organizer at one of the city's schools. She rented a room in an apartment she shared with other young teachers who were also from out of town, and she considered her life quite royal. When Alex decided to marry her, Liza had the feeling of stepping into a fairy tale. She never even dreamed she would live in such conditions, in a beautiful cottage, in a gated community, driving a fancy car. All of this had fallen into her lap at once and seemed like a dream. She took the job at the school library simply out of boredom. She didn't want to spend her time cooped up at home. They didn't have children yet, though Liza loved babies and was always happy to spend time with them. And now, when her husband slowed down on the highway to let a logging truck pass, she saw a child's figure on the side of the road. There were often makeshift market stalls along the road. Nearby, there was a city, and traffic never stopped. The wealthy residents of the gated community valued fresh milk and homemade preserves. In the summer, you could buy inexpensive mushrooms and berries there. Liza looked at her husband. Alex, slow down, look, they're selling milk. And your mom, you know, loves it. Let's buy it. Besides, the little girl selling it looks so cute, and her grandmother too. Oh, you always feel sorry for everyone. Alex grumbled, but slowed down. Go on, buy your milk. Liza got out and walked toward the woman and the little girl standing by the roadside. They were an unusual pair, an older lady and a child around 6 or 7 years old. Liza approached them. How much for the milk? Take it, darling, it's not expensive, the woman replied. It's from our cow, the tastiest and healthiest. She grazes in the meadow. No artificial additives. Give me your biggest jar, Liza asked. I'll try what kind of milk such a good cow gives. And who's this lovely person helping Grandma? I'm Katie, the little girl introduced herself seriously. Don't think I don't understand. My grandma has good milk. And she's also a fortune teller. She predicts the future. Maybe she can tell your fortune too, if you want. No thanks, I'll pass on that, Liza declined. I don't really believe in predictions, but the milk really does look great. It must be delicious. Don't doubt it, the elderly woman replied. She looked very colorful, wearing a headscarf and a belt decorated with coins. While Liza was examining her outfit, the elderly woman suddenly swapped the lid on the milk jar, then turned away as if she were very busy and named the price. Liza hurriedly started counting cash, but her wet fingers kept slipping. Her husband approached from behind and, as usual, grumbled. Liza, how much longer? Are we going to spend the night here on the highway, or are we going? Just a moment, I'm paying, Liza replied. Don't rush, it's raining anyway. Actually, I'm in a hurry, Alex muttered. I still need to make it to an important meeting. Forgot they were today. They're already calling from the office. My mom's going to rip my head off if I screw this up. Fine, we're going, Liza replied, took the jar of milk, and started heading to the car. They drove to the clinic without incident. However, because of the rain, Alex was nervous and kept grumbling that they would definitely be late. He seemed to be in a hurry, which was strange. And on top of that, Liza had taken the jar of milk into her mother-in-law's room. Couldn't you have left it in the car? Alex hissed. They're going to throw us out of here with your milk, and they'd be completely right. Your mom, by the way, is in a private room, Liza explained to him. They let you bring flowers, even balloons. You can even bring an elephant if you want. Mom is really sick. Why are you dragging that milk in here? Her husband continued to complain. It's not like she asked for it. Well, we'll ask her now, Liza said. That's her room, we can go in and ask her directly. They did indeed enter Brenda's room. She was half lying in bed, her head almost leaning back against the pillow. She looked incredibly pale and almost resembled a ghost. She weakly opened her eyes and moved her hand, signaling for the visitors to come in. Along with them in the room was a young doctor. He appeared to be a recent graduate. He had only been working there for less than a year and was still somewhat unsure when making independent diagnoses. Henry Jones, the doctor introduced himself, Brenda's attending physician. Are you relatives? I'll be straightforward, this is a very complicated case. We'll need to gather a medical board. Most likely, it will be a combination of diagnoses. Don't expect a quick solution. When will we at least know something? Alex erupted. You're not treating my mother here, you're making her worse. She's getting worse every day. We're doing what we can. New symptoms keep emerging, and we're addressing them. Doctors are not magicians, Henry defended himself. Or maybe you're just not competent enough. Alex retorted. Surely, there's no one older? I'll write a complaint. Let them change the doctor. Alex, stop, Brenda whispered. I'm fine with everything. Mom, stop it already. Her son snapped. Okay, doctor, if your rounds are over, can we visit the patient ourselves? Yes, of course, Henry replied and left the room. Liza immediately began fussing around her mother-in-law, getting ready to give her the beneficial milk. Brenda wasn't particularly eager to try it, since it had been bought on the highway, but Liza tried so hard to please her that Brenda gave in. However, the tight lid in the daughter-in-law's hands wouldn't budge. So, Alex took the jar and, with ease, unscrewed the metal lid. Underneath it, there was a message: "Stop pretending." Now that's a trick. Alex laughed. I wonder who this message is for. Probably for you, Liza. Or maybe the old lady leaves such notes for all the buyers. Maybe it's for you, Alex? Liza retorted. It seems the lid was a different color at first, and then someone changed it. Or maybe it really is magic. You know, that girl, Katie, said her grandmother predicts the future. She's just a crazy old woman, that's all, Alex smirked. Although, I am curious what secrets lie in your angelic head. Maybe it's time for you to stop pretending? While they were arguing, strange things were happening to Brenda. She pushed the cup of milk away, spilling it across the floor and the bed, then suddenly began to seize, gasping for air. Liza, in a panic, called for the doctor. He rushed in, examined the patient, but couldn't figure out what was happening. There was no apparent reason for her condition to worsen. Still, it was clear she was in distress. Realizing that their visit wasn't going to be helpful, Alex dragged his wife out of the room by the hand, tightening the lid on the milk jar as he went, and then pulled her toward the exit. Once they were in the car, he said, "Let's drive back the same way, and try to find that crazy old woman with the milk. We'll ask her why she decided to make such an ill-timed joke." "Fine, I'm curious too," Liza replied. "But don't you think your mom's attack might be connected to it?" "Enough with the nonsense," Alex snapped. "We'll figure it out when we get there." That old woman sure picked a strange way to joke. But the vendor was no longer at her usual spot. Liza looked around the roadside in vain. The elderly woman had seemingly vanished without a trace. Alex continued to complain. What a crazy woman. She stirred everyone up. Now, no luck is coming our way. We'll have to cancel today's meeting. Just think about it, who needs negotiations when you're on edge? I think you're taking this situation too personally. Liza said. The message surprises me, but it doesn't worry me. You and your mom are reacting in such an irrational way. That's because you're nobody. But we have enemies and competitors. We need to figure out if this is their doing. Alex yelled at his wife. Fine, figure it out, Liza said indifferently, but to herself, she decided that tomorrow she would try to find the girl and her grandmother. And I will, yes, her husband continued to fume. Maybe she's even illegally exploiting child labor. Why is a child out in the middle of the day, not at kindergarten or school, and what's with this milk? Can it even be drunk? Or are we going to find E. coli or some other gifts of nature waiting for us? Alex, enough already, okay? Liza asked. They just sold us milk. Yeah, with a big surprise under the lid, he retorted. Maybe this is all you're doing? The girl, the grandmother with their prophecies. Are you completely out of your mind? Liza was outraged. This is the first time I've seen them. They somehow made it home. The evening was irreparably ruined. Her husband soon left and didn't return that night. He sent a message saying he would stay at the office to avoid making 2 trips to the city. Liza went to bed early, and the next morning, she received a message: the school is closed for quarantine, giving her an unexpected day off. However, no one planned to pay for these days off either. They had their own private payment system. Taking advantage of the unexpected free time, Liza went to the garage and took her car. It was given to her by her mother-in-law, who didn't want to use an outdated model. Liza, though, was not an experienced driver. She got her license 3 years ago at her husband's insistence, but today, she didn't need any special driving skills. She just wanted to drive slowly to the place where she bought the milk and find the girl with her grandmother. But when she arrived, the elderly woman was gone, replaced by a rosy-cheeked chubby lady, although Katie was there. Liza parked the car on the side of the road and walked toward her. "Hi, do you remember me?" she asked the little girl. "Is your mom selling milk today, not your grandmother?" "This is our neighbor, Grace," Katie replied. "Grandma's not feeling well. We milked the cow and went out to sell it. We had to do something with the milk, or it would spoil. The cow won't wait." "I see, Katie. Do you know, we found a message under the lid of the jar yesterday. Do you know who it's for?" Liza asked gently. "Maybe your grandmother just swapped the lids by mistake?" "She doesn't make mistakes," Katie said angrily. "If you got a message, it's true. But I don't know who it's for. Maybe Grandma knows. She usually only sees the warning, but she never explains it." "Did you buy the milk for yourself?" "No, for a sick woman. She's my husband's mother." "Well, maybe it's for her then." Katie smiled. "You see, these prophecies are really complicated. I don't fully understand how they work. Can we ask your grandmother?" Liza pressed. She couldn't wait to solve this mystery. She gets sick after every prophecy. "I'm always afraid," Katie complained. "Well, please take me to her," Liza asked. "I promise not to tire her too much." "Her name is Anna," Katie explained. "Okay, let's go." She whispered something to the neighbor. The woman gave Liza a cold look but said nothing. Katie then grabbed the young woman by the hand and led her inside. They walked into a sturdy, rural house, a cabin with a large stove and an attached bathhouse. Inside, it smelled of hay and herbs. In the room, Anna was half lying on the bed. Seeing Liza, she gave a slight smile. "You came, after all?" "I thought you wouldn't figure it out," said the fortune teller. "Well, you really set up quite a mystery." Liza smiled. "Anna, what's the message on the lid?" "Katie, check the cow," she asked her granddaughter. "And when the girl went out," she continued, "I sent her away, you see, and now let's whisper. I'm old, and Katie needs to be raised. Who else? I can't do it. I feel death is near. And you, I see, are childless. Promise me you won't leave the girl. I've written a will for her. This house, everything else will go to Katie. And you'll take care of the orphan, it'll count for something." "Understood," Liza nodded. "But let's talk about something else. Did you leave the message on the lid?" "Yes, of course," Anna nodded. "How else could I warn you, you fool, to expose the liar?" "What are you talking about?" "The woman is almost dying. She had a seizure yesterday after your message." "Well, of course," Anna smirked, "that's exactly what happened. But your mother-in-law, she's a pretender, one of the worst. I don't know what dark things she's involved in, but you can expect anything from her. Be careful, don't trust her." "My mother-in-law, actually, is a good woman," Liza tried to argue. "She gave me her car. She's fine with me. Oh, I don't know who this woman is, but I see she's an imposter. She took something that wasn't hers. She'll pay for it. But you, fate will protect you. Your mother-in-law is as sick as a marathon runner. She's someone you can work yourself to the bone for, and all her illnesses are just pretending and falsehood. She doesn't deserve a single bit of sympathy." "How is it that you're raising your granddaughter?" Liza asked. "How old is she?" "She should be in school by now, but she's selling milk." "She's 6, she'll go to school next year," Anna replied. "I'm raising her because her parents died. There's no one but me. So, I'm taking care of Katie as best I can. We got a cow to sell the milk. You can't do much on just a pension. And with my gift, all I have are tears. You see, I'm lying here without strength." "That's so sad," Liza whispered. "I'm sorry, you're already feeling bad. And I'm here talking. Here, take some money for medicine. And buy something nice for Katie. Let me treat you. Okay, thank you. Write down my phone number, Liza, Anna asked. And leave yours. Maybe we'll need to call each other. But I didn't say my name, the young woman was surprised. Though, of course, you don't need to know that. Oh, it's nonsense, Anna smiled. Your husband called you by your name yesterday. Did you really forget? Oh, right, Liza laughed. I'll go now. Call me if you need anything. She left the fortune teller's house, waved goodbye to Katie, and walked to the car. The neighbor was still selling milk by the roadside, but Liza left without buying anything. She was in a hurry to get home, intending to call her husband from there, but Alex had already arrived. Liza dragged him inside to have breakfast and drink coffee. But he seemed to be lost in thought. By the way, why aren't you at your silly library? Her husband asked. We have a quarantine. Listen, I've got something to tell you, Liza said. It's just unbelievable. I found that woman with the milk. Strange, I didn't see anyone on the way, Alex replied. Listen, let's talk later. I've got some big issues right now. Yeah, strange. Yesterday you were ready to tear that fortune teller apart, and today she's not interesting? Liza smiled. Alex, maybe it's time we talk about this. What's with you? Her husband snapped. I'm actually leaving now. Iron my shirt. Liza went to get the iron, and Alex thought about how tired he was of a wife he had to tolerate. He hadn't loved Liza for a long time. His mind was consumed with his new mistress, Diana. Alex would go to the ends of the earth for her. The only problem was that his mistress wanted half the kingdom, and Liza was playing her part in their plan. That's why it was important to keep her in the dark as long as possible. He was getting dressed when a message arrived on his phone. His mother demanded that Alex come to her. He smiled. That could wait. He even thought to himself that his mother was hiding something in the hospital, but she was so good at pretending that she could very well be genuinely ill. Brenda had always had many secrets. Her son had long stopped trying to uncover them all. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Henry was trying to get any clarification on the diagnosis from his patient. He was bombarding her with questions. The tests weren't showing any clear clinical picture. In fact, they seemed to have been taken from several different people. Henry had no idea just how right his suspicions were. Tell me, what do you feel like this? He asked, bending the patient's arm. Weakness, Brenda whispered, barely moving her lips. My head is spinning terribly. Could you have been poisoned? I don't know what else to suggest, Henry exclaimed. What else do you feel? Tingling everywhere. Arms, legs, the patient whispered. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. I understand. Then we'll have to gather a board of doctors. Doctor, can we skip that? The patient asked, horror in her eyes, only reinforcing his suspicion that she was just faking it. You know, I've already endured so much. And what do you suggest? Henry snapped. If you have doubts about my diagnosis, let's consult other specialists. Brenda simply closed her eyes. And the young doctor, eager to confirm his theory, indeed called for a medical board. But things didn't go as he expected. What's going on, colleague? You can't even make a simple diagnosis? Why gather all these respected people and distract them from their work? The chief doctor complained. I tried. The patient keeps presenting completely different sets of symptoms, Henry replied. The tests don't even match up. It happens. Bring in the virologists, Fred advised the young doctor. We hired you as someone with promise. And what do we get? A doctor who can't make a simple diagnosis. I would make one if I had something. Henry retorted. In my opinion, she's just faking it and bought the tests from the neighbors in the rooms. Bold version, the chief doctor laughed. What exactly in your theory is making her do this? I don't know, the young doctor replied, but I'll try to figure it out. Don't overdo it. She's in a private room. Let the money drip in, Fred said. If you keep exposing all our paying patients like this, you'll scare them away. Besides, who knows why someone decides to check into a hospital in the first place? Henry left, feeling like he had just been mocked. He tried to call the patient's son to ask if Brenda was really faking her illness. But Alex wasn't concerned with any of that. He was on his way to a date, so he responded to the young doctor briefly and formally. About an hour later, it was Liza who came to visit her mother-in-law. It was then that Henry shared his suspicions with her. Listen, my senior colleagues aren't interested in this. Maybe you're not either, but to me, it really matters, the young doctor said, almost crying from frustration. Your mother-in-law is just faking it. If I had only suspected before, now I'm completely sure. Why? Do you have any evidence? Liza asked, concerned. It's simple. You should have seen the chief doctor's face at the board meeting. He was just paid to admit this woman to the hospital. And the diagnoses and symptoms, she's just making them up herself. You know, I believe you, Liza said. I understand that there's no hard evidence, but how can you catch her in a lie? She's a paying patient. But I'm grateful to you. Thank you for listening, Henry responded emotionally. I was starting to doubt my own sanity. Everyone keeps saying they don't care if this patient is ill. But how is that possible if she's in our hospital? Liza entered the room where her mother-in-law was still pretending to be dying, and mentally thanked the elderly fortune teller for the warning. She now saw her husband's mother in a completely different light. Brenda was clearly overplaying her role. She was tired of pretending to be on the verge of death, but she had her reasons for doing so. Hello, do you need anything? Liza asked quietly, trying to act naturally. Would you like something to drink or eat? I don't need anything, Liza, the woman whispered from the hospital bed. Where's Alex? Why isn't he coming? I don't know. He's disappearing at the office when you're not around, Liza answered. And anyway, you have a phone, right? You can always call him. I can't even hold the phone in my hand, Brenda replied. Besides, there's so much equipment here, what if something goes wrong? That's why the phone is turned off. You tell him yourself to come. Okay, Liza promised. Well, get well soon, all right? Of course, dear. Why do you think I'm lying here? But the doctor's competence leaves much to be desired. Brenda's voice carried familiar authoritative notes. I suppose I'll have to look for another hospital. Liza left her mother-in-law's room and headed home, her mind occupied with thoughts of little Katie and the fact that, most likely, she herself would never have children. When Liza was a child, her parents had left her alone in a cold house for a week without food or water. She got severely frostbitten, and it caused kidney problems. Later, her father and mother disappeared somewhere in the snow during a harsh winter, and living with her aunt was no better than being in an orphanage. She recalled her childhood memories, hospitals, strangers, frightening people, the constant reproach that she was eating up her aunt's family's food. Much later, Liza found out that her aunt had been receiving a pension for taking care of her. There were also the beatings that only stopped when she was placed in the orphanage. It was there that the girl found herself among others like her, unwanted teenagers. It became easier. Every day, there was food on the table. Liza understood perfectly well what her grandmother was saving little Katie from. At home, she tackled some routine tasks, feeling like everything was falling apart in her hands. Her thoughts kept turning to her marriage, which seemed to be on the verge of collapse, and there was nothing she could do about it. She remembered her mother-in-law's request. She dialed her husband's number, and he answered. What is it now? I'm busy. Go to your mother. She asked for you, Liza said, feeling irritation building up. You thought I missed you? Liza, I really don't have time. Nothing's happening in your library, but I'm actually running a business, Alex snapped. Her husband hung up the call and turned to his mistress. They were sitting in an expensive restaurant in a private room. Diana looked especially magnificent here. Expensive interiors and luxury suited her perfectly. The young woman always shone in such settings. A tall, beautiful brunette. She was nothing like the pale, frail Liza. "What did I ever see in my wife?" Alex muttered. "You're so much more beautiful. Women like you are the ones to marry. It's a good thing we didn't have children." "That's it, it's decided. The situation with my mother will be resolved. I'll get a divorce." "Don't forget, she has to give up everything in your favor first," Diana reminded him. "Otherwise, why would you be of any use to me if you're so poor?" "I'll give everything at your feet," Alex promised, dazzled by the woman beside him. "Just don't leave me." "Where would I go?" Diana smirked. "Well, Alex, it's time to speed things up. We've already dragged this out enough. Go to your mother. Let her give you the power of attorney already. How much longer can we wait?" That night, Alex didn't go home. Liza once again slept in the cold, empty bed. However, the absence of her husband didn't really bother her anymore. But her dreams were unsettling. Early in the morning, the phone rang. It was still too early. Liza was about to ignore the call but saw Anna's name on the screen. She answered and heard the worried voice of the child. "Aunt Liza, Grandma is cold and not breathing. What should I do? And the cow is mooing so loudly." "Okay, go to the neighbors if you can, and I'll be there soon," Liza promised, jumping up. "Don't hang up, slowly get dressed, go and talk to me. Okay?" "Yes, Grace's light is already on." "Can I go to her?" "Of course, Katie." "Just put on your jacket and shoes," Liza asked. Katie made it to the neighbor's house without any trouble. Liza spoke to the talkative neighbor, explaining the situation. She promised to wait and keep Katie with her until the woman arrived. Liza hung up the phone and rushed to get ready. Secretly, she hoped the little girl had made a mistake and her grandmother was still alive. But in the cold house with the cooled stove, Anna truly lay there, already gone. Liza called an ambulance and the police. She found the documents and funeral money, carefully wrapped in a newspaper. She also discovered a letter addressed to her, Liza. In it, Anna asked her to take the modest savings from the hiding place for Katie's future and begged her not to leave the little girl. When the fortune teller's body was taken away, Liza locked up the house and went to the neighbors. Grace opened the door and pulled her into the warm hallway. It was only now that Liza realized how cold she had gotten in that house. "So, Anna's dead," sighed the neighbor. "Katie is waiting for you. She's sitting there, saying that now Liza will take her." "Is that true?" "Yes, but I don't know how to handle all of this yet," Liza answered. "I don't want her to end up in an orphanage or a foster home. Don't tell anyone yet. I have a friend in social services. I'll talk to him and call you. Just take the girl. Just take her documents and things, and we'll sort everything out," promised Grace. "Who will bury Anna?" "I'll take care of everything," Liza promised. "Will you be able to stay with Katie for a bit on other days? I'm on quarantine at work, so I have time to deal with everything." "Yes, of course, don't hesitate," replied the neighbor. "I'd be happy to help." Don't worry, Anna was very respected here. She was a good, proper woman, even with her quirks. "What about the cow?" Liza remembered. "She needs to be milked and fed." "Who's going to do that?" "I'll take her, if you don't mind," Grace replied. "Anna bought plenty of feed for the winter, so the cow won't go hungry." Liza called Katie. Together they went to the house and gathered the girls' things, then got into the car and drove to the gated community where the young woman lived. The security at the entrance scrutinized Liza and her passenger more closely than usual, but they were still allowed onto the property. At home, Liza did her best to make Katie comfortable. The girl took a bath and immediately fell asleep. Meanwhile, Liza was on the phone with the funeral agency. The bill was substantial. Everything needed to be organized quickly to spare the child from further trauma and, if possible, to do so with dignity. After finding out she would need to take clothes and other belongings of the deceased to the morgue the next day, Liza made another call. She spent the rest of the day dealing with household chores. Katie turned out to be an incredibly compliant child. Since her grandmother's death, the girl had become unusually quiet. Her natural cheerfulness had disappeared, and Liza understood why. The child, who had already lost close family, was terrified of the unknown. "Are you going to send me to an orphanage?" Katie asked in the evening when Liza was reading her a bedtime story. "Of course not. I'm going to take you in as my daughter. We will need to work on this for a while. We may even be separated for a short time, but I promise I'll take you with me," Liza reassured her. "Grace said Grandma is really gone," Katie sighed. "Like Mom and Dad. So, she won't be coming back." "It's okay, Katie, we'll manage together," Liza hugged the little girl. In the chaos, Liza completely forgot to inform Alex about the child. When he returned, he flew into a rage at the sight of the little guest. "Where were your brains? This is child abduction," Alex yelled. "Why did you drag this beggar from the highway here? Isn't there enough trouble already?" "Alex, where else was I supposed to put her?" Liza asked. "She's not going to be a problem for you." "Of course, and then you'll want to adopt her and raise her on my money," Alex continued shouting. "Quiet, the child is sleeping," Liza asked. "Nothing has been decided yet. Where would you prefer I leave her? In the house with the deceased grandmother? Well, you could have sent her to an orphanage. Social services have probably already noticed the girl," her husband kept insisting. "I'm telling you now, I'm not getting involved with this child. You figure it out, but I don't want her here." "Alex, at least let me bury Anna with dignity," Liza pleaded. "Just 1 week, then I'll figure it out. I can't just throw the child out onto the street." "You shouldn't have brought her here in the first place," Alex said, outraged. "You live in this house with no rights, but you act like the owner." "Of course, only you get to disappear and appear at your convenience," Liza snapped. "Everyone else is supposed to crawl on their hands and knees and obey." "I see. I'll just spend the night at the office again," Alex said, getting up and leaving. "You have a week, I can't help with anything more." Liza was left staring at the door as it closed behind him. But he returned the next day, unusually kind to little Katie. He no longer reminded Liza of any deadlines, simply asking her to go with him to see his mother. She agreed, suggesting they stop by for Anna's things. The morgue was located in the same hospital where Alex's mother was staying. They left Katie with the neighbor. Liza quickly found the necessary clothes and shoes, since Anna had already prepared her last outfit. The young woman took the items, folded them into a prepared bag, and took one more look around the rooms. The house was in perfect order, as if the owner had only stepped out for a short while. Liza locked the house and returned to the car with her husband. Together, they drove to the hospital. Alex was unusually kind and considerate. They entered the room where his mother was. Though Liza hadn't wanted to visit her, Alex refused to go alone, and soon news came to light. Brenda now demanded to be transferred to the regional hospital in the neighboring area. "I can't lie here waiting for death anymore," she said tragically. "Arrange the transfer. I've already made arrangements with the chief doctor. I want the best doctors to handle my treatment." "Brenda, you've invented all these illnesses yourself," Henry concluded grimly. "I'm ready to discharge you right now with the diagnosis of healthy. You see what amateurs I have to deal with?" Brenda groaned. "Would a normal doctor speak to a patient like that? What is this? I demand a transfer immediately. I won't stay here another day." "All right, Mom. We'll sort it out," Alex said. "I'll go and arrange the transfer." His mother leaned back on the pillows. This hysterics really took a lot of effort from Brenda. Liza followed her husband into the corridor, looked him straight in the eyes, and asked, Alex, do you even believe in her illness? This is classic behavior for a faker. What's bothering you? He smirked. She's paying. Let her get what she wants. I don't care where she lies. It's madness to pander to her. What, tomorrow she'll say the other doctors are incompetent too? Is she going on a tour of different hospitals? Listen, just leave it for now. Go take care of the funeral, find a place for your stray, her husband snapped. Leave me alone. There are more important things to deal with. Liza stayed in the hospital corridor. She looked at her husband's retreating back and wondered how they had managed to live together for so many years. Right now, he seemed like a complete stranger. That same day, Brenda was transferred to a new hospital. Liza knew where her mother-in-law was. It was a well-advertised clinic with a large commercial department. There were rumors that people from the governor's team often came there to recover after heavy drinking during holidays. The clinic was well guarded from both curious outsiders and uninvited guests. Alex didn't come home until the next day and was all charm again. Liza had written off his behavior the day before as just being a jerk, but still, everything seemed strange. That day, Anna was supposed to be buried. Everything was organized, but at the last moment, Katie burst into tears. Can I not go bury Grandma? I want to remember her only alive. Of course, Alex said, comforting the tearful child. I'll stay with you. Aunt Liza can handle all the grown-up things and come back. Grandma won't be upset with you. Do you really think so? Katie asked. Liza, can I stay? Yes, you can stay at home then. Alex, are you really going to look after her? Of course, I'll put on cartoons and make some tea. What's so hard about that? Liza was surprised by his behavior, but everything was simple. Alex needed to get his wife out of the house as quickly as possible, and to do that, he was even willing to look after the orphan he hated. Liza went to bury Anna. She paid for the cremation. The cemetery plot cost a huge amount of money, and the crematorium was new, not very in demand. The services there were much cheaper. She also planned to bury the urn with the ashes at the place where Katie's parents were already buried. Grace approved her decision. Well done. You're doing the right thing. You're a good woman, Liza. Thank you. You know, I didn't know Anna very well, but I'm standing here and crying. She was a good woman, kind. See how many people came to say goodbye? All the neighbors. As for family, there's no one left, and you were right not to bring Katie. After her parents' funeral, she barely recovered. She cried every day for a year. Liza watched the crowd leave the funeral hall, and then a vaguely familiar young man in a coat approached her. She didn't immediately recognize him as the doctor, Henry. Hello. I'm sorry to approach you at such a moment, but I really need to talk to you, he said. All right. Let's go outside for some fresh air, Liza suggested. I'm starting to feel a bit faint. You see, Brenda was acting very strangely, Henry said as he guided her outside. Do you remember how she demanded a transfer to another clinic urgently yesterday? Of course, that hysterics is hard to forget, Liza replied. She was practically going crazy from fear. Did you notice that too? Yes, exactly, she was very frightened. You see, that morning, something happened at the security checkpoint. A few respectable men came and demanded patient details. They claimed they were making a friendly visit. Interesting, Liza said. And who were these visitors? Were they asked for IDs? Well, unfortunately, we don't know anything about that, Henry smiled. It was during the morning rounds, and the timing for a visit was completely off. They were asked to return after lunch, but the nurse told me about these persistent strangers right in Brenda's room. Guess what happened next? My mother-in-law threw a fit and demanded a transfer to another hospital. Liza understood. Of course, she's faking it, and she's definitely hiding from someone. I was laughed at for such hypotheses at the board meeting, Henry said. I wasn't fired just because I'm from an academic medical family, and my father also has a good reputation in his field. Unfortunately, our world is very small. Connections decide everything. Thank you for sharing this with me, Liza thanked him. I needed to tell you, he replied. Sorry for interrupting your farewell to your grandmother. She's not my relative. Liza told him the story of how she met Anna. They leisurely walked through the hospital park for a few more hours, talking nonstop. They exchanged phone numbers and promised to call each other soon. Henry's mother turned out to be a supervisor in child protection services and promised to help with adopting Katie. At home, the little girl was eagerly waiting for her. Katie hugged Liza tightly and didn't let go of her all evening. By nightfall, Alex left again. This time, claiming that he wanted to visit his mother in the morning. Liza was putting Katie to bed when the little girl said, Uncle Alex was talking a lot on the phone today with some lady. Well, probably with his mother, Liza replied. Is her name Diana? The girl asked, surprised. And you know, moms don't usually talk like that. What were they talking about? Did you remember? Uncle Alex kept talking about taking an empire from someone. Probably a joke, right? There aren't emperors anymore, and he doesn't really look like a prince. Yeah, strange. Maybe you misunderstood something, Katie? Liza smiled. I understood everything. So, what's this business empire? And who can you take it from? I think I know what's going on now, Liza mumbled. Katie, will you be able to stay with Grace again tomorrow? Yes. Are you going somewhere? The little girl asked trustingly. Just come back quickly. Liza called the neighbor and arranged to bring Katie over tomorrow. She felt uncomfortable asking for help so often, but the woman was more than willing. As Liza folded Katie's freshly washed and ironed clothes, she thought about how her husband was playing his own game. The business empire in their family was in her mother-in-law's hands, but recently, the woman had been avoiding her managerial duties. It was as if she was running away from responsibility. Liza didn't spend much time thinking. She ordered a taxi for the morning. There were no convenient trains or buses, but she bought a ticket for the commuter train for the return trip. The station was right near Grace and Anna's house. In the morning, she dropped Katie off at the neighbor's house, then headed to the neighboring region where her mother-in-law was in the paid ward at the hospital. The journey was not short. Liza reached her destination only by noon. The daily rounds had just ended. She was let through without any trouble, and there, Liza saw an unexpected sight. A crowd of men in expensive suits surrounded Brenda's bed. The woman was sitting, pale and angry. When she saw Liza, she brightened up, and the visitors left the room, promising to return soon. Who are these people, Brenda? And why are you running away? Liza asked tiredly. Did Alex hire them to take control of the business? It's not what you think, Brenda answered through tears. I'm terrified, I don't know what to do. Then tell me, Liza asked. I think it's time to stop keeping all these family secrets. You think Alex is my son, Brenda began her story, wiping the tears rolling down her cheeks, but that's not the case. I can't have children, not at all. I had an operation a long time ago, and this child is from my former lover. He didn't die, as the gossip said, he ran away abroad. Alex ended up in an orphanage. I adopted him on the condition that I would keep all the assets intact until he reached adulthood. Wait, so you're not really my mother-in-law? Liza was stunned. Does Alex know about this? Wait, I'll tell you everything, Brenda promised. You see, the assets were huge. They were passed to me on the condition that they would go to the boy when he turned 18. And I would receive some payment for my involvement. A nice sum, but much smaller. And how did it happen that all the business stayed with you? That's what I'm getting to, Brenda sighed wearily. Managing the business turned out to be a surprisingly fascinating task. I quickly got into it, figured out what was what. And the most amazing thing was that it was so easy. The money practically made itself. I hardly had to make any effort, and what I had left grew threefold. Alex turned 18, and it became clear I couldn't give him the money and the company. He still thought he was my biological child. And how did you end up in this situation? Who are you running from, if everything is so wonderful? From him, from Alex, Brenda smirked. This fool decided to team up with my enemies. He got caught on the most basic thing, a woman. She's beautiful and smart. She's the daughter of my main competitor. The boy found out through her that I wasn't his real mother and decided to get rid of me. Anyway, realizing that I'd been poisoned twice in 1 week by coffee made by my son, I decided to act. I went into the hospital so he couldn't get to me. And the men in suits? Who are they? Liza asked. They look pretty strange. They're messengers from Raymond, Alex's biological father, Brenda grinned. They've come for the heir, to take him to his father. Interesting, what's the rush? His father didn't know anything about him for so many years, and now suddenly? I don't know either, but it's over. You understand, I can't compete with such forces. But you have a chance. If he offers, ask for a bigger piece. A house, for example. Who will offer? This Raymond of yours? Yes. When you divorce Alex, do you really think your husband will stay in the marriage if there's a huge fortune at stake? Liza returned home in a daze, and chaos reigned there. She barely managed to get Katie to sleep. She started cleaning and received a phone call. On the other end, her husband's cheerful voice came through. Well, Liza, you're a free woman now. My lawyers are already handling the divorce. Alex, where are you? They're looking for you, she said tiredly. Or have they already found you? If you're talking about my father's lawyers, they're with me, Alex replied. We're flying to one of the visa-free countries. You see, Dad decided it's time for me to take control of my empire. Of course, we can't let you divide it in the case of a divorce. So, agree to everything peacefully. In return, I'll leave you some property. For example, my car and the house. I agree, Liza simply replied. Are you really okay? Of course, her husband answered cheerfully. You can't even imagine how good I feel. About a month later, people in sharp suits brought Liza the deed for the house and the car documents. She signed the divorce agreement, becoming a fairly wealthy, single woman. Using the connections of her new friend, Henry, and the Child Protection Services, she was able to keep Katie with her. The girl wasn't even temporarily taken to an orphanage, especially since a child psychologist from the school where Liza worked volunteered to help. All of this was beneficial to the little girl and worked in Liza's favor during the custody hearing. A few months later, Liza received a call from a number with a strange foreign country code. She picked up the phone, already suspecting whose voice she would hear. Her ex-husband was yelling so loudly that her eardrums were about to burst. Tell that crazy woman not to transfer anything or sign anything. Alex, who? Liza didn't understand. Your mother? She's not my mother, Alex snapped. I don't have much time. Listen, they took me by force. On the phone, I was pretending to be happy, practically under threat. Yeah, that didn't sound like what you're describing, Liza replied. Of course, at first, I was thrilled, but it turns out the old bastard just wanted to get his money and assets back. Hence the blackmail and threats. And like a fool, I fell for it. I transferred his European companies to myself. Now I'm sitting in jail, waiting for a trial for money laundering. Liza, they're going to give me 100 years. It's a nightmare. If Brenda hasn't transferred all the assets to him yet, she should just run and hide. I want to get back at the old man. But why did he do this? Isn't he your biological father? Liza was surprised. What, have you been watching movies? Alex asked. My dad is a business shark. He's banned from several countries, including ours. He's caused enough trouble, God help him. He doesn't care about our family ties. He was just looking for a convenient scapegoat. And here I was, eagerly opening my mouth for his wealth. Now he's walking away scot-free, while his son is going to jail for his crimes. Can I help in any way? Liza asked her ex-husband. Help me get back at him, he whispered, then hung up, but his warning didn't help. By the time Liza found Brenda, her assets had already been returned to the original owner. Of course, the woman had hidden a few things, but it was nothing compared to the wealth she had before. Liza ignored Alex's plea for help. Unexpectedly, Liza received an offer to sell the cottage. The maintenance of the property had become quite expensive. She agreed to the sale, and with the money, she and Katie bought an apartment in the city. She never learned anything more about her mother-in-law or ex-husband. However, she saw Henry every day. The young doctor had gradually learned how to stand his ground in the hospital. He was already being called a future luminary. He didn't shy away in his personal life either. Henry had supported Liza through the divorce, and his parents were very fond of little Katie. When Henry decided to propose to Liza, his family supported him. The wedding was grand and beautiful. Little Katie, in an elegant flower girl dress, walked and scattered rose petals in front of her new parents. Henry planned to adopt the little girl, but first, they needed to legalize their relationship. And so, they took this important step: they got married. Liza invested the money she had left after selling the house. By the time Katie turned 18, she wanted to provide the girl with everything she would need. And she slowly started planning her future. The ashes of the fortune teller were kept in a beautiful urn in the columbarium. On holidays, Liza and Katie went there to visit Anna and remember her. Liza listened to her adopted daughter's stories about her grandmother and parents. She understood that any sorrow becomes much easier to bear when shared with close and loved ones. And now, Katie had many such people around her. And she definitely wouldn't be alone.